So let's dive into it, right? I've come to realize that there's a food that accelerates the growth of one of the strongest, and I think if not the strongest emotion that you have, which is fear. And that food is time, right? To overcome fear, you must stop feeding it and stop making it stronger. But before I go further, let's take a look at what fear actually is, right? So the definition of fear goes something like, in its most basic form, right? It is an emotional response to perceived threats, right? It's hardwired into our survival instinct, alerting us to any danger and preparing us to deal with it. However, in our modern world, the nature of the threat has evolved, right? But our emotional response often hasn't. In other words, we are biologically ill-equipped to face the threats of the 21st century, and I say threats, quote unquote, right? Because we no longer face the same physical dangers of our ancestors, like getting eaten by a lion or a shark. Yet our minds react to challenges and unknowns with the same primal emotion. But here's where it gets interesting, right? In the world of entrepreneurship, fear often doesn't come from a tangible threat. It comes from the unknown, right? The uncertainty of stepping away from the conventional path, feeling lost, and facing the risk of failure, right? The less traveled path of entrepreneurship is chock full of these unknowns and making fear an almost constant companion. But why do we often give fear so much power? And I personally believe through experience and by learning what I could about it, it's because of time. The more we give time to our fears, the more we dwell on them, the stronger they become. It's like feeding a beast, right? The more you feed it, the bigger and more intimidating and more destructive it gets. And I feel like this is a good time to share my story a bit before I talk about the antidote to our predicament, which is fear. So I'm Jaden, and let me take you back to where my journey began, right? So picture a young kid, only just finished the first semester of first grade, stepping onto the MV Doulos, which is the ship you're looking at right here. So that was me embarking on what would be a 5-year adventure across 40 countries, right? So this early experience of the vast and varied world instilled in me a sense of wonder, but also a profound realization of the unknown, right? And fast forward to December 2023, I've just finished my last ever final exam in uni, marking the end of an era, right? And here I am sharing my story with you. So my biggest fear right now is stepping off the traditional path and venturing into the uncertainty of building a business, right? The entrepreneurial path. And I want to hear your story, right? And the only way as of now is through the comments. So let me know what your fears are, what you're facing right now, and I'll read every comment and reply with a word of encouragement. And if you send me a word of encouragement, hey, all the better. So yeah, back to my story. So in Korea, right, where I've lived since 2010, the societal pressure to conform is immense. It's incredible, with corporate giants like Samsung and Hyundai dominating the job market, right? The expectation is to secure a stable job right out of university. And that's quite overwhelming, the societal pressures. And the window of opportunity is really narrow. And you're either in with the fresh recruits or you risk missing the boat entirely, right? Unless you're like a seasoned talent with decades of experience, which I don't have, right? So the past summer has been a roller coaster of ups and downs, right? Periods of high motivation and then periods of just burnout and anxiety. And thankfully, I'm now at a place of relative peace, sprinkled with anticipation and excitement, right? And looking back, I believe I was able to get here by taking action. In fact, the more I look back at it, the more I realize that the moments of least overthinking and just taking the leap, just immediate action, brought about the most amount of satisfaction and peace that I could enjoy, right? And during the rest of this video, my goal is very simple, is to get you to the place I am now in. Relative more peace is sprinkled with anticipation and excitement, hopefully, and do it in a faster time frame than me. So Let's check it out. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the antidote to paralyzing fear is not ignorance or recklessness, it's action, right? Action is a light that dispels the shadow of fear. By taking steps, it doesn't matter how small, by taking steps toward our goals, we can start to diminish the power of fear. It's about incrementally shifting our focus from what can go wrong to what can go right, right? That's all we want to do. So here are 3 action items that can help stop feeding fear and empower you to push ahead towards your goals. And these are action items that I have personally incorporated in my life, and they've helped me a ton. So here we go. The first one is, imagine the worst case scenario, right? Think about it. Sit down and really flesh it out. I'll share my example. When I was imagining what would happen if I decided to go all in on the entrepreneurial path, and it wasn't like I sat down and fleshed it out. No, it was just blind fear, right? My fear took over entirely, and it grew by each second. My mind was filled with the potential embarrassment of failure and the shame I'd feel when I saw that my peers climbing the corporate ladder were right and I was wrong, right? Until one day, I literally sat down and imagined the worst case scenario, and here's what it looked like. It's pretty much, I tried building my business, right? And I did not make any money, so I need to get a job to put food on the table. And that's it. The worst case scenario is just doing what I needed to do. The world wasn't coming to an end. No one was pointing fingers or cussing at my face. I was simply handling the consequences of my decisions, and my life was not over, right? So when we face the worst case scenario of our choices, we're able to realize that it's not the dreaded apocalypse it tends to morph into when we hand over our reins to our fears, right? Clarity is our weapon of choice against fear. Moving on. The second one is doubts and answers, and it's an exercise I like to just call DNA for short. Let's dive into it. It's really simple, and it continues on the theme of clarity, right? So grab a piece of paper, any paper, divide it in half, and on the left, list out all your doubts and fears, the causes of your anxiety, and all that. And on the right, flesh out the counter arguments to each items on the left, right? And once you're done, you'll again come to the conclusion that it's not the dreaded apocalypse you initially thought it was. And I'll share one of my favorite entries, which is on the doubt side, I wrote, I'm not as talented, or I won't be as successful as, let's say, Bob. And on the counter argument, I wrote that I think Bob is successful because I watched his video of him becoming a millionaire in a week or something like that, and you compared your current self, with his success, which probably took much longer to manifest, right? So I love this quote or saying, I'm probably going to butcher it, but comparison is a conversation between your lowest of lows and the highest of highs that the others curate for the world to see, for you to see, right? In other words, you're literally comparing the lowest of lows that only you know with the highest of highs that people want you to see, not the other things, not the other hardships that actually are in their real lives. So comparison in itself is a total waste of time. So the only comparison you're qualified to make is between yourself from yesterday and yourself today. And the best part about this exercise, DNA, is not only does it give you clarity, it also makes you realize that you're much wiser and you're much more encouraging than you give yourself credit for. So try it out, and as soon as you finish watching this video, take a piece of paper, go ahead and do this, and hopefully it helps you. And the next one is simplify your goals. And it sounds so simple, yet we have a hard time doing it. And I think many times we turn our goals into rocket science, because I've done so. But the fact is, more people have become millionaires than people have gone to the moon. You think about that. There are 56.1 million millionaires, and only 12 people have gone to the moon. So we tend to make our goals a bit of a rocket science. Like literally my number of goals used to take up a whole A4 page and then some. And so anytime I wanted to remind myself of my goals, I'd give up halfway because there were so many. But it became so much easier when I took a step back and just got to the essence of what I was pursuing. And I found out that I had 3 pursuits in life. three pursuits, which is wealth, wellness, and wisdom. So each pursuit required a specific action. So wealth required work, wellness required exercise, and wisdom required learning. So for you, how do you find your pursuits? And I'd recommend using the staircase method, which is what I used. So if you have a certain action, let's say going to the gym, right? Going to the gym is right here. And that is just one step in the staircase. So for me, my wellness pursuit is for a healthy physique, confidence, and mental well-being, overall well-being. And to do that, I need to exercise. And what exercise? Gym. I need to go to the gym. And I feel like I need to do running. And I sort of enjoy it, but I also don't. Love-hate relationship. But we can go even further. At the gym, my goal is to go progressive overload, and then I could go into all the workouts and routines day by day and so on. And for running, one of my goals is to do a marathon. But to do a marathon, I gotta do my 10K first, and if I can't do 10K, I gotta do 5K first. So this is just how I break it down. And once you do this, you can go up this staircase and realize, so my end goal is wellness, and whatever you do is just aimed at that, and you don't need to overcomplicate things and get lost in the nitty-gritty details. So again, clarity defeats fear, and I think that will be incredibly helpful, because it was for me. So try it out. Let me know in the comments if you find this useful, or if you have a hack that helped you, please let me know so I could try it, and someone reading it might really appreciate the help as well. That's it for, those three are like some of the things I wish you'd try. And to wrap it all off, in my own journey, I've come to realize that any sort of change comes with stress, right? And with stress comes resistance to change. And especially if it's a life-changing transformation, they are followed by some of the most stressful situations like you would not imagine. And I used to look at stress as the mother of all diseases, like that I abhorred it. But as of late, I've come to the realization that has made stress somewhat of an ally, right? So I believe people desire a life without stress, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you really think about it, a life without stress means there's no growth. And it's in these moments of uncertainty and stress that the greatest growth happens. I'm sure that is true for your life as well. So it's like lifting weights. Without the stress of resistance, there's no growth. And this realization changed pretty much everything for me, because it helped me to understand that without the challenges, without the progressive overload, there's no moving forward. You become stagnant. So now I just tell myself and ask, what is life without its challenges, right? Light defeats darkness, forgiveness soothes anger, courage conquers fear, perseverance triumphs over adversity. We gotta embrace the whole spectrum. Life cannot be without each end of the spectrum, right? And so growth is a result of embracing stress as information and not as a negative emotion that keeps dragging your positivity down. So as I share my story with you, all I hope is that you remember, fear loses its grip when you choose to act. And it's okay to feel fear, but it's not okay to let it stop you. And in entrepreneurship, in life, I believe the greatest victories often come from facing and overcoming our fears. And meeting stress along the way is the ultimate proof that you're making progress. So let's dive in and relish in the resistance and get the job done. Now, as I wrap up this video, I want you to take action right now, as soon as you finish watching this video. To help you get started, I created a very simple Notion page with the exercises I mentioned in the video. You can access it right in the descriptions or in the pinned comment, and all you gotta do is duplicate it and you can use it to your heart's content. I'm here with you. Remember, we can conquer that fears that hold us back together. And if you found this video helpful, press like, subscribe if you wanna. and hopefully it gets into the hands of people that really need it as well, because there are going to be people that are facing the similar situations as you and I. So hope that helps. And I'd also love to hear your experiences and how you overcame your fears as well, because that will help me in the future or right now as well. Love to hear those. I'll reply to every comment. Let's support and learn from each other. And until next time, get unlost.